he is a cruel, criminal, and mentally unstable man. And Duty to Warn was a book that came out when he was first in office. Psychiatrists across the country who don't ever really diagnose people that they don't serve personally came together and made a book, Duty to Warn, to tell the world what a narcissistic, mentally ill person he is. And I think he's the worst thing that ever happened to the United States.
Rosie O'Donnell is on a mission to verbally demolish Donald Trump like he's an expired Trump Steaks infomercial. This isn't just a roast. It's a full-blown flamethrower of truth and comedy. From his spray-tan sorcery to his brain cell hostage situation, Rosie holds nothing back. Buckle up. This takedown makes a nuclear meltdown look like a candlelight dinner.
He'll do anything and everything to get what he wants, and women are of no value to him in his life or world. The only one who is, I think, is his daughter. That's it. The rest of the women in the world are useless as the immigrants that he says are coming from, Honduras to take us in caravans. Watch out for the caravan. There are people walking away from certain death in third world countries, right? The man doesn't care at all. So what he did to Stormy Daniels was...
Donald Trump waking up to Rosie O'Donnell roasting him is like a marshmallow discovering it's on fire. Sticky, dramatic, and absolutely unprepared for the heat. Because when Rosie comes for someone, she doesn't just bring the smoke. She brings a full-blown kitchen fire with a side of sarcasm and a blowtorch fueled by righteous mockery. And Trump, he's the overcooked turkey who thought he could strut into the oven and come out golden. But no, he's burnt, busted, and baffled.
What Donald Trump is doing is trying to become an authoritarian, a dictator, and he is the worst thing that ever happened to this nation. And I totally disagree with you saying that he didn't have anything to do with the insurrection, that he didn't instigate it, plan it, demand it of his fans. And for me, in 2006, when he was just a embarrassment in New York, nobody respected him in any way. Forbes never would put him on the richest people list because they couldn't verify his income because he was often broke. He's a con man.
And for me, in 2006 when he was just an embarrassment in New York, nobody respected him in any way. Forbes never would put him on the richest people list because they couldn't verify his income because he was often broke. He's a con man. If you're enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon. Let's just say Rosie O'Donnell didn't destroy Trump with facts and figures. She annihilated him with something far worse. Reality. That thing he's been avoiding since the 1980s like it's gluten, and he's on some imaginary diet. While Trump is busy building fantasy walls, Rosie is bulldozing his ego like it's a condemned building made entirely of spray tan fumes and bankruptcy filings.
Watching this moron speak, can he form a coherent sentence? He is the worst thing that ever happened. Period. And he's just babbling like an incoherent... He's like Dr. Doom. He's the worst thing. Oh, you know what? He just lies, lies, lies. I am done with Donald Trump. Let's be done with...
The man has all the subtlety of a wrecking ball in a china shop and the depth of a kiddie pool filled with expired orange juice. And yet, he thought he could outsass Rosie O'Donnell. That's like challenging a tornado to a game of wind. She didn't need to break a sweat. She just stood there and let his own nonsense implode like a reality TV show with no viewers, which ironically is the exact fate of anything with his name on it these days.
People in America are afraid of him. They're afraid to stand up to him, against him, because... And when I did on The View in 2006, I remember Joy Behar saying, "You're not going to say that out there," because he had a press conference right before we were live, where he had a teenager, Tara O'Connor, who was Miss Teen USA. She had kissed a girl in the Village, and they took a picture and put it on all the newspapers. And he made her do a press conference where she apologized, and it looked to me like a pimp and a prostitute. And I said that on the air, and then I proceeded to list facts, not hyperbole, just facts about who he was and what he did. Bankrupt all these times, money from his father, not a self-made man. Can't quantify his riches on Forbes magazine.
While Trump is out there trying to trademark delusions, Rosie is tossing his entire circus of chaos into the compost bin of political has-beens. She's got receipts longer than the Mueller report and sass sharper than Ivanka's side eye when someone mentions actual work. Trump walks into every room like he's the main character in a movie that nobody asked for. But Rosie turns every scene into his blooper reel. Unfiltered, unedited, and unbearably hilarious.
How do you think America has changed in the months since he's been elected?
Well, if you talk to any Americans, they're all in shock, or at least the ones that I know. I will have to say I don't really have many people in my life that support him. I don't really understand how people could support a convicted felon and a man who has had so many charges against him and has the moral compass of a teenager.
You could practically hear his ego shrivel like a raisin in the sun as Rosie painted him not as a villain but as a clown who forgot his own circus. The man once said, "He hires only the best." But somehow his administration had more plot twists than a soap opera starring gold-plated incompetence. And Rosie, she dissected that parade of professional chaos like a roast chicken at a Sunday dinner, methodically, mercilessly, and with a carving knife made of sarcasm. Trump's version of leadership is like someone playing Monopoly and thinking they're qualified to run Wall Street. And Rosie, she's the voiceover that reminds everyone it's just a board game and he lost all his properties 6 turns ago. The guy couldn't manage a lemonade stand without declaring it a national emergency. Meanwhile, Rosie is out here turning his every move into a comedic autopsy, peeling back the layers of delusion to expose the soggy paper towel that is his legacy. This is a man who thought handling a pandemic was like managing a pizza chain. Just slap a slogan on it and hope no one notices the ingredients are toxic. Rosie didn't even need a MIC to make that disaster look like a kindergarten science experiment gone wrong. Her shade is renewable energy. She doesn't waste time shouting. She just lets the truth do the heavy lifting while Trump drowns in his own sea of self-congratulation.
Can't take away someone's citizenship. They have to renounce it themselves in the Constitution. So, I'm not that worried. However, the Supreme Court has given him unbridled powers. And I believe that his dementia forces him to think that he actually is a king. We don't have kings in America. That's why we started America, not wanting to have kings. No monarchy. Liberty and justice for all. For all people.
And really, watching Rosie take down Trump is like watching a cat knock over a tower of plastic cups. Elegant. Inevitable. Hilarious. Trump tries to puff out his chest like a peacock with a comb over, but Rosie doesn't even flinch. She stares down his overcooked rhetoric like it's bad dinner theater, and she wants her money back. The funniest part, Trump still thinks he's winning. That's the true comedy here. Like a game show contestant buzzing in with the wrong answer every time and insisting the buzzer's broken. Rose is the audience member in the back holding up a giant sign that says, "This is embarrassing, even for cable access." While Trump measures success in how many headlines he can hijack, Rosie measures it in how many laughs she can extract from his latest disaster. And trust me, the supply is infinite. The guy is a human blooper reel with a red tie and a fragile ego. Every time he opens his mouth, it's a punchline with a bad hairpiece. Rosie just collects the greatest hits and arranges them like a mixtape of mockery. There's something magical about how she doesn't even have to try that hard. Trump practically writes the jokes himself. A man who thinks a Sharpie can change the weather isn't hard to ridicule. He's the punchline and the setup all in one. Rosie just connects the dots and lets the absurdity marinate.
See his hair loop and going, everyone deserves a second chance, and I'm gonna give her a second chance.
Her hair is perfect for that. Your hair is perfect for that.
Listen, he annoys me on a multitude of levels. He's the moral authority. Left the first wife, had an affair. Left the second wife, had an affair. Had kids both time, but he's the moral compass for 20-year-olds in America. That'll sit and spin, my friend.
And let's talk about the logic gymnastic routines Trump performs daily. The man could be a gold medalist in mental backflips. He'll contradict himself mid-sentence and then blame the teleprompter for having too much honesty. Rose's response, just one long stare of exhausted disbelief, followed by a verbal MIC drop that could cause a small earthquake in Mar-a-Lago. Remember when Trump tried to brand himself as the law and order guy while simultaneously looking like a Florida retiree who just wandered into a protest looking for the buffet line? Rosie didn't need a punchline for that. She just held up the mirror and the audience laughed themselves into oxygen debt. She doesn't just roast Trump, she roasts the entire clown car that rolled into Washington with him. The man rebranded lying as alternative facts and somehow expected applause. That's like setting your kitchen on fire and calling it modern art. Rosie shredded that logic with the finesse of a samurai with a vendetta. While Trump is busy faking expertise like a toddler pretending to be a pilot, Rosie is calling the tower and landing the plane.
Or do you have a message of what you want to happen with this president?
Well, I think most of America wants him to be out, although you can't tell that from reading some of the, watching Fox News or whatnot, which is just like state-run TV in Russia at this point. So all we have to do is encourage people to show up, to protest, to use their voice to save democracy. It's very depressing. And it seems very strange to me that the President of the United States has so many friends who are
And don't even get started on his Twitter days where every 280-character tantrum read like it was written in crayon and desperation. Rosie doesn't even need to parody it. She could just read it out loud and win a comedy special. The guy tweets like a bot programmed by Chaos Gremlins and roses the firewall filtering out the madness with snark and sanity. Meanwhile, Trump's personal entourage looks like the rejected cast of a reality show called America's Got Delusions. It's a tight-knit circle of yes men, conspiracy theorists, and people who treat critical thinking the way vampires treat garlic. A woman who's basically the spiritual alarm clock that keeps interrupting Trump's fever dream with, "You've got to be kidding me." She's not just throwing shade. She is the shade tree in the middle of his sun-scorched ego desert. While everyone else pretends the emperor's golf pants are couture, Rose is there with binoculars, pointing out the fashion felony and asking, "Is that corduroy in July?" She's not fooled by the glitz, the glitter, or the gloating. She sees through the smoke, the mirrors, and the self-tanning fog like she's got X-ray vision and a sarcasm subscription.
Very proud to be opposed to everything about him and all of his antics and all of his racist and misogynistic ways. I am very proud to stand polar opposite of him and say, "You're right, I deny everything he is, and I won't serve the dark, I will only serve the light." It's dangerous to the world that he's doing what he's doing now.
What do you make of the health bulletin that was released overnight, that he's suffering from this venous insufficiency, which has led to swelling of the ankles and some marks on his hand and a complexion that looks pretty ghastly?
Well, that's a spray tan. That's a choice.
No, but it's when it, the way it frays around the eyes and all of that.
Yes. Yeah, well, he doesn't look well. He's not a healthy man, and I think it's very funny, and he lives in a deluded reality where he's believing.
Even when Trump tried to revive his reality TV glow, dragging the White House down to a season finale cliffhanger where democracy nearly got voted off the island, Rosie was spiritually parked in the front row with popcorn, watching the train wreck unfold with the calm detachment of someone who knew this was coming. While he was building the political equivalent of a Lego tower made of lies and ego, Rosie was backstage casually swapping the foundation with actual facts and replacing the clowns with accountability. And guess what? She didn't even charge admission. Trump's taste is a category all on its own. Somewhere between bad casino lobby and a gold-themed fever dream with no exit. He loves anything shiny, oversized, and screaming his name louder than his own inner monologue. If you gave a narcissist a limitless credit card and a bedazzler, you'd get the Trump aesthetic. Gold toilets, check. Ego fountains, naturally. Rugs that probably say, "You're fired" in rhinestones. Wouldn't surprise anyone. Rosie, meanwhile, walks into this gaudy explosion of insecurity, squints once, and laughs so hard she gives herself a hernia.
Well, there's the President of the United States that has it out for me and has for 20 years when I told the truth about him on a program called The View, where it was my job to talk about pop culture, politics, and I mentioned his bankruptcies, and I mentioned all of the sexual assault charges, and I mentioned that he was not, in fact, the businessman that everyone...
The Trump brand isn't about success. It's about surviving the collapse and pretending it was the plan all along. It's bankruptcy with a bow tie, spray tan wrapped in slogans. The only real consistency is the desperation not to be exposed. That's where Rosie comes in. Wielding sarcasm like a spotlight, illuminating every absurd performance until the lead actor forgets his lines, his logic, and where he left his dignity. She doesn't just critique, she obliterates. Housing crisis, best numbers ever. Global ridicule, tremendous ratings. It's like watching someone crash a car into a tree and immediately declare, "Look how well the horn works." Rosie doesn't even waste breath arguing. She just holds up the receipts, sets them gently on fire, and roasts marshmallows while sipping iced irony from a cup that says, "I told you so."
He had inherited a lot of money. Wait a minute. And he's been bankrupt so many times where he didn't have to pay.
People have been bankrupt, but he's come back.
The people beneath him who he owed money to got shorted out of the money, but he got to again, try again and again. And you know what saved him the second time? After his father died, with that money, he paid off all his bankruptcy. This is not a self-made
He's
man.
honorable. He paid off his creditors.
No, he didn't. He didn't pay off the people he owed.
They put you on a
Here comes
payment
the
plan.
lawsuit. Get ready.
He's the type of guy who would take credit for gravity, then accuse the clouds of sabotage when it rains on his parade. Rosie, she's just standing there in boots of truth, planting flags in the name of common sense while his empire of nonsense topples like a wedding cake in a wind tunnel. She doesn't push it down. She just watches it buckle under its own weight built on fluff, inflated promises, and enough delusion to power a cable news segment for the next decade. And the best part, she does it all with that calm deadpan delivery that says, "This isn't even my final form." Even the way he speaks is its own comedic tragedy. Half motivational speaker, half man trying to sell you a haunted timeshare. Rosie doesn't mimic it. She just translates it into plain English. "I have no idea what I'm doing, but please clap." It's like watching someone freestyle nonsense with the confidence of a guy who hasn't read a book since 1972. He's allergic to facts, hostile to reality, and in a committed relationship with his own reflection. Rose's kryptonite is exactly that, mirrors. She holds one up and dares him to look. And every time the results are more humiliating than a spelling bee loss to a cat.
Money and gifts from other countries, the emoluments clause. He's breaking every law and every rule that we have in our country, and no one's
joining the As I Am Same Chance Walk on Saturday, the 5th of April. You can find out more details on the walk and, more importantly, how to donate at the asiam.ie website.
In the end, Rosie O'Donnell didn't just destroy Donald Trump. She dismantled the illusion. She cracked the carnival mirror and showed the man behind the myth, standing there like a reality TV Frankenstein held together with duct tape and delusion. While Trump is busy rewriting history with crayons and ketchup, Rose is writing his obituary in satire, and it's a bestseller. So, yes, Trump may have towers with his name on them, but Rosie built a demolition crew of one. And every punchline is another brick falling from the shaky edifice of his self-importance. She doesn't need to scream. She doesn't need to grandstand. She just exists, sarcastic and unbothered. And that alone is enough to melt the maga right off his hat. Because when it comes to roasting Trump, Rosie O'Donnell isn't just good. She's a one-woman natural disaster. And Trump is just the trailer park that didn't see her coming.